Welcome to me crafting, I guess. Everything seems to be working okay, so that's good. Right. So I've been trying to do this project for quite some time, but there's been little problems over the years. Mostly my laziness and the like, but you know. So I finally decided to do this because, well, basically I've been using lighting rigs which are quite expensive to get in full. So this time around I found a cheap equivalent and I'm just going to see how they work. And if they work well, good. If they don't, I mean, this prop's just going to be a wall decoration. Wow, I'm quiet compared to these things. So, this is a LED strip. It costs £10 from Amazon, and considering the fact that the controller alone was about 15-20 quid last time I got it. You know, for the last lighting rig I made. How do you open this? Oh, it's like, why do they do this? When they design them, on-off switch, open. This just makes it a nightmare to put into a prop because you need to be able to access the batteries and stick it inside somewhere. Which I would say is quite annoying with this setup. I mean, the connection wires don't feel the best, but when you're paying cheap, what do you expect? Okay, so we can turn that off. Again, I've got it all to run on AA batteries because these are relatively common. The other ones I've got work on battery packs, so we'll see. Now, I'm taking this out of the bag for the first time, so don't know what's going to happen. I hope it all goes well. But got a little remote there, and these are RGB strips. Well, it's nice of them to give me a clue which way it goes round. Ah, there's a little plus arrow by there. Well, that's definitely flashing. Flashing blue, flashing green. Well, it's alternating through colours, so it's not... Oh. Okay. That's another RGB mode. Colour. Where's pink? There you go. Wow, okay, that goes pretty bright. I mean, that's... Well, I mean, it works, so... But for this particular build, I need a specific cycle, so I'm just going to see if it has one. Nope. My apologies, I was not... Okay, let's... How'd you brightness down it now? Okay, it's not brightening down. Reset, maybe? Yeah... No... Okay, so it looks like the best I'm going to get out of it that isn't flashing is the solid color. I was hoping it would have a chase effect running around, but it doesn't, so... Okay, it's still getting brighter and darker. Nope, stop changing. I don't know which one it was for constantly on and pink. Okay, that's cycling slowly. That's cycling slowly for brightnesses. But it seems to remember the last one it was on, so that's going to be useful because having to do this every time you turn a prop on. No? Okay, no, 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 no. No. How do I find an effect for that? Oh, there it is. There you go. Now hopefully when that turns back on, it'll be constant pink. Okay, good. That's where I want it. That's where I need it. So we will wind that back in. So that's... I mean, it doesn't do the exact effect I wanted, but if I wanted an exact effect, I'd program it myself. And yeah, I mean, for the price I paid, that's good enough. And it didn't blow up, catch on fire, or anything. Oof, that's good. Well, that's a thing. Right, so that one is been tested out. Now, the second one I got, I've used this kind of thing before, so this should work, but this is just, you know, permanently one static colour, and it costs about the same as the RGB strip. And this is just fairy lights. I was about to say that case does not feel strong and really cheap, but it's a box it comes in. So we rolled that out. That's more like it. Okay, so this is... Oh, this one's on top this time. But still, if you bury that inside a prop, it's going to be an absolute nightmare. But that's not what they designed these for. Let's just pop these batteries out, because I don't know how long the memory in this lasts for, but I'm assuming if I ever use it for anything but... you know, props, I will, which was on, which was off. Oh, you're in the on position. On off is written on this bit, and, I mean, oh wow, they have, okay, this is definitely solid core wire. And they're quite easy to break, but I mean, I believe they said this for outdoors as well, but I mean, I wouldn't trust this anywhere it's got to move on a regular basis. This is like the lowest quality wire I've ever encountered. But again, I think this was just really cheap stuff I got on Amazon, so I'm okay with it. Crap. But it's just a string of fairy lights, which is much brighter than the lighting in the studio. So, I mean, that's gonna work for being under a prop. So the next thing I bought purely for experimental reasons. Oh, Okay, off this controller, they're actually using much higher quality wire and then just soldered together there onto the LEDs. But I decided to run an experiment this time because in the past I've just used gratings to do light diffusion, but I've got to move on from that at some point. So, well, Kamui has been recommending, using more than recommending this stuff for ages, so this is LD45. Which again, I bought purely for experimentation purposes, but I mean, it lets light through to the extent that you can see that black object underneath it, which is really good light diffusion, but it's much rougher than regular EVA foam, which I'll show in a second. But underneath, what's that square? I'm sorry, that was showing up through it. Impressive, but I mean, that's still pretty bright and it's working quite effectively. Of course, this is 2mm, which, I mean, if you're using light diffusion, you should have a thin material because the thicker it gets, the less light gets diffused. Or, sorry, no, the more or the less light makes it through. I can just about see it. I don't think my camera is capable of catching this. But it does show if you separate them out a bit. It does have a much nicer effect, doesn't it? But either way, not what we're here for. So that works shockingly well. But when I was doing it, I figured I'd give the standard Whitecraft foam a go as well, just for comparison. Because I know this would work. Yeah, come on, get up here. Unfortunately, I did not check the price, so, whoops. But even in this case, if you just put that underneath, I mean, you can just see it through. So it does look closer to 2 layers, but I mean, it still shines through, but a little bit less than the LD. But also I get like plus 50%, I think, for the price, so you end up like that. And of course, once you start getting into thicker layers, I mean, that's 2 centimeter. Actually, no, sorry, it's like 2mm. This is, so that's 8mm, and it's still shining through okay. So these have worked surprisingly well, but yeah, if your prop has to move at all, don't use these. The wire's awful. So I had to do those experiments to start off with. And yes, I have a large box of batteries specifically for testing. Well, it's not so much for testing anymore. It used to. Well, more testing now. I used to use a lot of AA's in projects, but then I moved on to like 8,000 milliamp hour batteries, which works slightly more effectively. So we can get them. Chuck it over on the stack of LEDs. Yeah, I've got the fan going, blowing the air out, because EVA foam smells awful when it's new. Put that back on. It's literally sitting there aiming out the door. So I did promise I was going to build myself a hammer, and that one's from years ago, so I mean, to start off with the process, you've got to get the pictures from in the game and then make sure that, you know, it's actually scaled right and make a model. So this is my drawing for it. So mean, we start there, keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. So it's pretty big, and my camera is not going to be able to catch all of it. But that's to be expected. And of course, we have the sword that comes down the side, as such. Of course, the rest of the hammer's off down there. So to start off with, in the actual game, this all compresses down. So basically this entire thing that's a 3-stage piston. It pushes out and pulls out the sword with it and pushes out the head. Now, I'm still making my stuff con-safe, so you can actually take them to conventions. And a giant metal piston will get you thrown out of a convention faster than, I don't know, I've seen people get kicked out for very mild things, but it's not going to end well if you turn up for a giant metal bar, because that's an actual weapon. I mean, you may as well make the sword out of metal at that point. So, what I'm going to do is replace that with a plastic pipe of the correct length, which is on the other side of the room. Of course it is. It's the exact type of thing that I do. So, okay. What I'm hoping is that this pipe will be the correct length, because this was cut years ago for a minigun, which has been since dismantled. So we've got the hammer, and we've got our template. Now, this stuff, relatively flexible. If you're going to have a big heavy weight on the end of it, it's going to be a problem. But the correct grip is in this position, meaning that we'll only have that much on top. And that's really hard to bend. So, first up, we have to correctly mark where the end of this is, and then cut it. Well, cut it to length. But we have almost got the exact thickness of pipe. Whoa, 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 don't click stuff. My pipe decided it wanted to stream for a second. It's in fact an electrical conduit, and was probably annoyed at the fact that I called it a pipe. Now it occurs to me that I planned badly, but that's the mark on the end of the pipe, so it's only this, okay, conduit before it complains at me again. So we need to cut that off there, and we've got the full length we need. But I sort of left my saw just in the other room. I should plan better. Be back in a second, because... Yes, well... Here's my saw. Oh, whoops. I need that light on. Get off. You know those days where you're glad to put a sound limiter on? This is one of them, for that exact incident. Oh, what did I click this time? Right. So we roll this here, and just cut on the... Why is the blade upside down? How do I get the blade back out? So yeah, this blade's been installed upside down. Or do I just not know how to use a saw? Something solid that I can force this out. There you go. God, do not do I do it, okay, so the blade goes down that way, so that's the reciprocal, that's the cut. Yeah, I think. Oof, this is just tension to get it into place, isn't it? Okay, and a little cover over the end. Hey look, I bought this years ago, I've never used it, so review of cheapest hacksaw I could get. It's loud. And I still can't cut properly. Oof. Okay, well, the cut on it's awful, but that's more user error. Should have thrown that, but let's just get this last little bit. I mean, I don't want little sharp bits in it. I mean, con security is enough of a problem without me making blades, so. Ow! Should have used a brush. Ow! Do I even have a brush? That hurts. Those bits of plastic are sharp, and that desk is not friendly when it comes to moving stuff. Come on, I've got to have a brush here. Fine. Palm, this is not the worst thing you'll ever have on you. I'm 98% sure that has something much worse than the dust off a saw on it. But it could be deer poo. Ew. Do you know that's a thing from doing archery to clean arrows after you pull them out of the ground? Right, next phase, because I'm actually going to do this eventually. So we just chuck that in over the length so it's in the right place. Find out just how wonky my drawing is. Then I'm just going to mark the positions of things. So we've got the hammerhead there, we've got the first stage of the piston, then we've got the second stage, the piston's end, and then where the handle starts. I really shouldn't use Sharpies because if you paint over them, they absorb into most of the paints I've used over the years, but it'll do. See, now I have big decisions to make that I did not decide on ordering. So I think next step it will be the blade. Because the blade goes in the centre of the hammer, or in the centre of the head, and, well, it is sort of important. So we chuck that like that. I mean, that's how it eventually goes together. But it does mean that when I transfer this over, I'm going to have to transfer it onto foam. Okay, let's get this straight. What I gotta do is transfer this onto foam and onto a layer of cardboard. Get a thing in between them, stop them sliding, and then stick it together. as this is the top down on the hammerhead, I would say that's about 15 mil, 15-20 mil. So I'm just going to go with that. And then we're going to have to add a circle here in order to make it rotate, because you do not want something this big permanently in a T formation, because, you know, going to a convention, you've got to get stuff in a car. You would be literally the worst jerk your friends have ever met if you turn up with something that's the width of the car. Or me. And I'm not saying I'm a jerk or something, but I have turned up with armor suits that take up an entire car. Or two. So hopefully I have enough I have enough of this left. This stuff is CF 100. Yeah, I haven't used the studio in a while, so that's why I'm having to look for stuff all the time. Let's just move these two to safe area. Phone, tablets, and let's get the lighting rig into somewhere safe. I'm just moving everything out the way of where the phone's going right now. Okay, junk on the floor, I don't care. It's whoever has to tidy up's job. I can assure you, whoever has to tidy up already hates me. Maybe if I'd be less of a jerk, it'd work better. But what did I do for the 50 billion pair of scissors I had? Yep. I saw a pair of scissors, and yeah, it's my fabric scissors. Get out. Yeah. You know those packs of knives and scissors that you need a knife to get into? It really is a chicken and the egg scenario with knives these days. So yeah, hopefully I've got enough of this foam left to do 3 layers. 3 layers should be enough, right? So we got 1. Oh, will it fit? No. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we got loads. See, it only occurred to me after I started that I in fact had to cut out the template. Because, you know, oh wow, this is tiny. Bigger pair. Now, when I made these templates were made, literally I spent about 2 hours in game getting this working to drop, and then did a lot of screenshots, and I genuinely mean a lot of screenshots. But thank you, neighbours. Very nice of you. See, my big concern with this is that this little bit on the bottom is not going to want to stay in place. And the fact that this blade actually separates, because it ends about there and remains a separate thing, it's going to be a bit of a problem. EVA foam is not known for being massively strong. it does a good job at being relatively tough and looking like armor, but it does not do a good job of actually being metal. But that's fine. Hopefully, because this is just a giant craft knife. Why they've made it a giant craft knife is beyond me, but it looks cool. Oh wow, this blade is thin. So when I'm looking at this on the floor, I thought like, oh yeah, like one of the standard rods would be able to do that. It'd be fine. No. So if we cut this one off around there, because that's what it's shaped like. Then of course we grab the back of this, because this is also going to be a, well, this is where it directly connects to. You can see there that those are in fact, this was one drawing once, so it continued in like that. And that's how it was originally arranged. I have to take into note that, I have to take into account when doing this, when I transfer it, it's going to have to, well, we're going to have some form of rotation mechanism, which is fine because, I mean, it's that thick. I have this much to hide a rotation mechanism in. Also, before, yeah, these, I got the scale slightly wrong with that, or I've got the width right, just not the length. It's because I scaled it off that, and that one's too thick. But we're going to ignore that. I brought it up purely because, please don't fall over. Yeah, that happened. So, this way it'll fit. Please tell me I actually have chalk here. So you get blade. Well, you get template of the blade. Move it up as far as you can, like such. Oh, no. So there. I mean, I know you can't see what I'm doing yet, but please stay still. Okay, so can I reach that with my foot safely? There it is. Got it. And that will give me a good idea of how big the blade needs to be. And now I need to also go up a little bit further on this, because I don't think that's good enough. Okay. Yeah. So what we're going to end up with is this coming in like that. Then this sort of circular arrangement. I need to leave enough for a skin over the top, but that one's exposed. But you know, it's exposed top and bottom, so I can show the mechanism both ways. Which means that's going to have to support the weight of all of this, which is why it's important to keep your weight down. Now, of course, come in with an actual straight edge and correct some of the straight bits that just weren't. Like that. And here. That edge on the top will be good enough, I guess. Is it supposed to be straight? Yeah. Yeah, it's straight enough. It'll be good. And that's why the blade didn't fit initially. Yeah, and there's this sort of curve on the bottom. Now, as you can see, I am taking quite a bit of license with the original drawing, just because that's what I like doing. Right, so we end up with this basic shape, and that on the end, which is going to have a hole through it, and that's going to be the main support. Now at this point, I don't even know if I have anything that can do this, so I'm just going to cut, see what I get. So along there, this is just a metal straight edge. And of course, when cutting EVA film, remember, sharp knife. Now I might be cheating a little bit using a fresh knife, but pop that down. Now I use chalk for this for a few reasons, but my favourite is that chalk is much easier to get off at the end. Like that's more parallel? Yeah, so okay. As you can see, the design is very fluid when I'm doing it. I don't actually stick to a plan. Especially on the first cuts, because that's when you need to get the shape right. After that, it's just you've got to stay very precise. But for the first run, just make a mess of it. So I'm just going to copy that. Yeah, swap that around. Oh well. And then once you get under the back here, it doesn't matter either. And of course, don't cut towards yourself and pay attention while cutting, because this thing will go through me just as effectively as it goes through this phone. In fact, past experience is only going to go by more efficiently. And now we have a oversized, well, craft knife. Okay, so we can't get one out of that. from this point on, I'm going to be using this as the template. 4 more. Yeah. So we move in as close as possible, like such. I think this time I'm going to leave a little bit. In fact, what am I doing? Let you know, there and there. So I've just cut this off of the original from about that position, and that'll give me a fixed point for the 2 of them. No, not duct tape. Duct tape doesn't work for this. Masking tape, on the other hand, perfect. That's a little bit too much. But now I just cut that bit out on them, but that means the blade will hold position, which means I'll get better replication every time. Like that. Just move it down a bit so I'm wasting as little material as possible. I would prefer to be wasting none, but oh, okay. Also, because it's made out of, soft, squishy material, you have to be careful. I love the fact I didn't cut that straight. And just remember, the more you mess up now, the more you've got to correct at the end. Oh, whoops. So yeah, it just cuts across like that, and there. Yeah, I know it's not the best, but tracing from the paper again would be worse. Because I made a lot of marks between 1 and 2. So it's a slightly different shape, and that's now useless as a template. So we get that one. We now have a fixed line on the top, which is already in place, so we don't need to worry that much about that. So run down and do this bit. Yeah, it's close enough. And that little bit at the end. Now what I'm going to do is just put some little marks in it off of the actual one for that center bit, because I am not happy with how that's coming out. So they're properly cut now at the right distance, and we go for this one, which you at the right distance, you at the right distance. Do not cut towards yourself. Okay, so they've now got little density chans. So that's much better. Wow, is that really how thick it is? Okay. So we take that one off to the side and then drop these over here. So that one's on the mark. Oh. Someone drilling outside? I guess so. So we go across. Where's the end point? There. Now just remember, when you're doing this, any mistakes you make, you have to correct them at the end. So less mistakes equals good. If that's the hole, just go in there and roll down. Let's get this line like that. Then get this one, which is the equivalent over there. I love the fact these lines aren't even straight. Okay, and you'll cut down all the way, you'll cut down all the way. We do the end one last. Just freehand the blade. And freehand the blade. Like this. It's okay not to be fast. This isn't a race, and if you do attempt to race, you'll just end up hurt. Because this is still a very dangerous hobby. You know, unless you get someone else to do this for you, then it's perfectly safe for you. Okay, and finish that over the edge. And that should... Oops, I forgot the end of the blade, didn't I? So if we come up here, and yep, we're to the end. So just roll around there, and just roll you up here. Then this should all just pop out. Oh, no, you're still attached. Okay. Okay, that's layer 1, 2, and 3. I mean, apart from that one bit that I completely messed up, that's pretty good for a replication 3 times over. And when I'm doing this, if I do get 3 different sizes where one's bigger, you know, like this one here, if we make the biggest one the center, or we just set off the slant one way, we can have a start of a blade already. Makes my life easier towards the end. So there, and let me just check that somewhere where it's safe and put this back. Actually, I'm just going to do a strength test on this, because I don't know how well 3 layers of this stuff will hold up to, you know, actually being used as a blade. So we just run this over the top. I mean, it's not that bad, but bendy. Admittedly, the bendiness is probably down to the fact that it's not laminated. I mean, that's just slightly sagging down, so I think I'm going to put some reinforcement in it, which is fair enough. I was planning to anyway. It means that I shouldn't need any cardboard reinforcement in the center for an extra layer, which is good. I just use a traditional spine. Now, when using spines, I think most LARP weapons at this point use a polycarbonate stick. But hopefully I have one of my wooden sticks available. If I don't, then I'm in trouble again. But when do I not have resources available? It's like I'm working in a prop shop or something. So for this one, we picked the center section. The center one is the one that is too big. Which is this one, which I'm just going to mark out as being the wrong. So basically mark that out, just say go about 1 centimetre further, and this one here, I mean in fact this one's too thin because the other two are the same. So we need to take a little bit off this one. Like that, and then this bit off this one, you didn't see that. I definitely didn't just do that cut there and mess it all up. There's a reason it's okay. I've now got to do this in a safe way. Okay, there's a sharp knife. There are a lot of blunt knives that would just fail at that. Okay. And I mean, we're curving over the top, so I can pull that one down a little bit into position and we'll be okay. And this bit here I can correct up afterwards once it's all stuck. So, that's fine. So we've decided that this one is the center, bottom, top. Also, I'd like to keep this one on top so I can keep that hole in position because I've got to drill it. And I'd like to know where it is. So we get the center. Now this is 6 mil down, 5 to 6 mil. So it's only got a millimeter difference from the 5 mil foam. And I'm going to cut it now because this is annoying me. So to do this, literally get it, stop it like it's stopping about here, because this end bit will be strong enough to hold up on its own. And also if somebody nicks this from you in the con and goes and attacks someone with it, when you stab them, it does that. And then you don't get thrown out and banned for having made actual weaponry. Which is a thing, don't do it. People who do that are ruining it for everyone, because then we get extra millions of rules. And these things are hard enough to design without having to compensate for people's stupidity. Wow, that splintered a lot worse than I thought it would. Whoops, doesn't matter. It's all covered. Honestly, if I could get polycarbonate rods, I probably would at this point. I mean, short of buying a kid's tent and, you know, ripping all the tent poles out of it, I don't see a good way of getting them. So right, that's now been marked around with the length of the stick, and I always forget to do that. My heat gun takes like an hour and a half to warm up, and I always leave it like right up until the last minute, and then it's always, well, it's never hot when I want it to be. And then I forget to turn it off, and it's always hot when I don't want it to be. Oh crap, that was not on the line. Right, let's do some compensating. Fortunately, on the center layer, it doesn't matter. You only need it to line up externally, so if you're going to make mistakes, the bits no one will ever see, best place to make them. It's definitely where I'd make them. And it doesn't matter if this one is a little bit bigger. It does matter if you accidentally do that, though. Fudge. See what I did there? I ripped that off. And it's fine. It's nothing I can't handle, and I can come back from this. It's fine. Ooh, that's actually gold pink, not contact adhesive. So we've decided that this is the bottom. Now I definitely need the ventilation in here, because this is contact adhesive. I'm going to stick these two together, then hot glue it inside, I think, because contact adhesive is 24-hour. No, I'm scared. Okay, so the hot glue is sort of pointless at this point. Sorry, I only just thought of it. So we'll put the spine in afterwards, I guess. Yeah. Now this was last used over a year ago. I sealed it up, so it might work. I can smell it. Nothing's coming. Oh, okay, stuff's coming out. Let's get some around there. I'm just out of shot, I just realized. Okay. Now, just get this on here. Okay, I think that's all I'm getting out of it. Nope, no more. That's the last of the contact adhesive used for my sister battle. to run very quickly now and grab some more. Fortunately, before I start this, I thought, oh, I'm going to need contact adhesive. So quiet. Then, like some form of complete fool, I went and forgot that I would need them for this, so I left them in the storeroom. Oops. My defense for using the same one is it worked last time. That's good enough for me. Okay, just get some of this on there. Much better. And realistically, you don't need that much contact adhesive, and I should keep that off the mouse mat. Unfortunately, because of how long that took, bits of it are tacky already and bits aren't. So let's just get a little bit more on this one. Oh, this stuff stinks. Let's just put up the speed of that fan a little bit. Yeah, I know. I've got a fan aiming straight outside because of the amount of smell that stuff produces. Okay, I'd say that that's tacky across most of it now. So, where is it? Now, something I learned last time, which is that this glue does not stick to greaseproof paper. So while lining it all up, making sure it's all done right. Spider Buddy, this is not where you should be. Little spider there just ran straight towards the contact adhesive and was like, no, don't. I'm not being responsible for you dying, you little... Okay, so we can fold that over now, keep them separate. As you can see, that little bit is not ready yet, but that's because I had to run off to get more. Okay, and okay, you attach on there. You attach on there. And squeeze it down. So I mean, it's still wobbly as heck, but that is the purpose of this bit of stick, which goes in that gap. And once it's like that, it's relatively decent. It's relatively decent. But yeah, I'm just going to leave that there while it dries. So that will be sometime tomorrow, probably I'll be picking that up. Let's just put this stuff away. Top down on hammerhead, where are you? Nope, you're not top down. there. Now of course this one has no contact adhesive, so it's fine. But if you look, width of the hammerhead, there it is. I know I just chuck stuff on the floor. What I do at the end is I spend like, if I do like a 2-3 hour session, I usually have to spend like 45 minutes to an hour cleaning. Making sure that everything's ready for next time so I can just start up again. We've got that gap at the back that it goes into. That does seem very wobbly. I'm going to have to do something with that. That goes in just fine. Yeah, this bit, too floppy. Don't like that. So what I'm going to do is get a bit of clear plastic. Sand it by there, sand it by there. When I glue these two together, I'm going to stick that little bit of plastic there. So it'll be clear so you can't see it. But then I can like run, or well, that's going to be flat, so it doesn't make that much difference. Where it means that its flexibility will be limited to like this much range of motion instead of that. I really hope that that circle is not under. Okay, it just misses, it'll be fine. Plus I can move it. Oh wow, okay. So I can like move it there, a little bit over if I have to. But either way. Chuck then. So next up, I'm gonna have to start working on the head of this thing. Now I know exactly how thick and how strong that's going to be. I can start on this. Now, okay, no, that is actually someone outside. That's fine. So, when you come to design these, I'm going to have to cut this whole thing up for it. Now, my plan is to have the batteries hidden inside the hammerhead, because that seems like the most efficient way to hide them. But I also have to have some retention method for the actual staff. I mean, that's easy enough, I'm just going to drill it in. It's nothing I haven't done before. Now, these bits I'm cutting out don't really look three-dimensional, and they're not. But I remember what they look like, and I use this for reference. So, what I'm planning to do is get battery pack, hide under there. So this is going to be solid frame out there, and then this section is like hidden under a bit there. So you can just pop this out, change the batteries, turn it on and off. You can pop that side off, change the batteries, turn it on and off. How I'm going to do that is beyond me, but I'm going to do it. Now I believe the top of that hammer is about... So basically it's going to be this type of thing. So that's going to be sitting in the middle. It's going to have one of these sandwiched to either side, so 10mm plate to either side. So it's going to be one coming up all the way there to be the top of the hammer, one coming up there, and then have a little sandwiched layer which this has been drilled into in the centre. I hope that was slightly clearer than dishwater. Also, this is 20mm and that's 15, the blade. So the gap, so it means these solid things will be able to go all the way back and then act as the main support. But it also means that I can't stick it all together until right at the end. Yeah. Now this time round, I'm switching from CF100 to 55 10mm. I'm just going to find a good spot to shove this where I can, cut it without wasting much. Waste is a bit of a problem with this. Okay, so that's bottom. Pencil, final pencil. Pen. BT, bottom, top. That is bottom, top. Yeah. Sorry, I'm being stupid. And see, bottom, which is where the staff comes out, top, which is the hammerhead. There you go. But also, the advantages of doing it out this is I can do the curving motion with it. So, where is my chalk? I put it in the thing because that's would have been sensible, but I didn't. There it is. Now this one's going to involve far less being creative, but I'm still going to take some creative license because I don't think that should be curved as much. Or I think it'll look better not curved. Realistically, I don't care. So we're going to need 2 of them. So let's just cut out the first one, then we worry about the second. So that sort of goes like this, then back out. And we use that top of the foam as the actual top. Now this one's going to involve a lot more freehand than the last because it's not entirely straight lines. Okay, let's have a look. Yeah, because I've cut that straight, but this bit is a circle. So this is more like that. And then that comes back to here. Let's say that. No, that's nowhere near straight. Oh, I messed that up. Okay, this one's been royally messed up. Right. So that's messed up. That's messed up. I've cut through the wrong section there. And try again. Of course, my goal is to minimize waste, but also to get it right. So we've confirmed this bit is a bit more curved, so it's a bit more rounded. That's okay, that's okay. Okay, and a little bit there. Okay, that should be alright. Take that up like a non-traditional hammerhead and go that way. Straight line down there and straight line here. Straight line across there. And not towards myself because you know. Now, because the thickness of this, it may not come straight out. Because I was refraining from cutting deep. Which, I mean, is fine. We don't particularly want to go in too deep because it damages the, well, because the thickness and the fact that I'm cutting on a slant means that if you cut too deep, it'll just cut across into the thing like that. So that'll do. And might as well use the first one I cut because, I mean, you'll be able to detect little differences, but not big. Let's put you in the area that's being blown on because I had enough of those fumes. Just draw around, move under the camera and draw around. Okay, and chuck that. Chuck that in the pot because that's the best place to keep it. Just press it. Basically, don't be afraid if you don't do it all in one cut. Okay, I guess that one's coming in more as a curve than it should. That's fine. I mean, I don't mind if the top of it looks curved. There you go. Much better. Okay, and around the corner. And that little bit of straight. Is that really wonky? Yeah, it is. Okay, we've got to keep them both the same, even if the back is slightly wonky. The back on my drawing is slightly wonky. That will be why. Okay, and a little bit of a zig there, and we're done. Just ignore the fact that I just overcut. It's in. Yep, and out. That should be most of that free by now. Okay, and those two will stick together relatively flat, so that's good. And if you look, it does end up at about the right thickness of the full height, so we're all good. Even though it is bent because it's been sitting in a curve for a very long time. Yeah, let's cause some trouble. tell people I'm doing this, right? Come on. I can't believe that. Oh. Okay, I really hope that went right, because you've... Yay! Actually correct for once. Okay, so those are done. You see the slight modifications to them, and we've got the top of the hammer. So now we need little blocks that are capable of holding in that pipe. At which point I cannot use hot glue for the nastiness inside. So now we need an estimate of the actual width, which I mean, you can do easy enough. We've got that one for the top, which we know is out of scale. We've also got this one, which we know is in scale. That's a gap of 20, it's a 21 mil exterior pipe. So we literally are at the maximum then. So if we just cut some 20 mil blocks, 4 spaces, come here. Just knock that across there, that across there, and that across there. And you can see the theme here, right? It's the I can't cut. Okay, let's try that again. 20 mil. 20. 20. And 20. This time, hold the knife steady against the edge. Okay, I'll just get rid of that little bit of excess because it's 20 mil. First attempt completely fails. Second attempt works perfectly. I don't know what I just knocked over, but so next up, I just to arrange this to exactly where it meets up in the center. So I'm going to need the whole thing back. Fortunately, there's still a front bit for me to align it with. So now I need to make a decision over which is the best side. They both cut the same, so that one and this one. So interior. I and I. Just remind me which way it goes inwards. So the central shaft goes up here. Of course, that's supposed to be 20 mil across, but who really cares? And that is where this goes. And almost perfect. So what we do first is hope that the glue gun's warmed up. But of course we know those hammerheads are a sufficient amount, well, the detail on the top of the hammerhead is sufficient to be seen. Well, sufficiently above the surface to be seen, so it's about 10 mil? So it's about, oh no, what did I click? My mouse is over there. Okay, we're still okay, we're still running, blah, 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 we're fine. Okay. Okay, it's been an hour and a half of drink before I get dehydrated. This is a lot harder when you're dehydrated. So, hydrate, y'all. So, if we measure down about 10 mils, if we measure down about 15 mils to give us space to put something. So it's a 15 mil line, which will give us a clear idea of where to start. Isn't enough? So about there, I think. Which means that the next thing we're going to need is some of these. So if we stick that one there like this, mark it up and cut so it's the right length. Usually for this I'd cut big squares and then drill this into it, but I'm going to have to do it with a box around and hot glue. Ooh, glue gun's working. So now that's cut, we do a second to the same length, like such. I mean, all of this is going to have to be hidden at the end, of course. I'll just get some hot glue, put it down the length. Now this glue gun is, well, to call it ancient would be an insult to things that are actually ancient, but wow, okay, it's actually thicker than I thought. Fine, it's close enough. Looks like 21 internal diameter and I've messed up. It definitely sounds like something I'd do messing up, but okay, like that. Get that little bit, cut it off the top. Like that, then we stick them together. Now, when I'm touching the hot glue, remember, don't do that, please. It's not only a bad idea, it causes severe burns. I can get away with it because this is a very unusual hot glue gun that doesn't get too hot. But like 90% of them will just burn you straight away. Be careful with them. Got that? Oops, that's a bit wobbly. Just cut some thin little segments out like this. I miscalculated the height, so now I need to do some correcting. Fortunately, all of this stuff will be hidden inside when it's done, so I don't need to worry that much. You know, all sins hidden by it being on the inside. The best place to mess up is inside a prop, okay? So we get to chuck them on the scrap pile. Excuse me while I tear off some stuff that I made a mistake with. It's good to me. I'm trying to add like 2 free mil, and I have 5 mil waste sitting at my side. Let's just use that, because I mean, it's slightly higher quality, so it's waste, but it's also like junk at the moment. It's getting chucked. So I think it counts salvage, right? So there you go. I mean, as far as hammerhead goes, wow, that's slightly more effective than I thought it would be. So we still don't want to stick them together yet, but eventually we end up with that. Where's the extra blade? This in the back, in that section, capable of rotating. Hopefully like that. But we've still got to design a system to make that happen. Which is fine, I guess. So now that we've got that position fixed, we can get on with this. Where's the main thing? So this is going to be one of the like really modular ones that I'm going to have to do a lot of work to get to go. Because it's such a layered, detailed design. Okay, so my little markers have moved a bit, but that one there, and that's top of hammer, because you can actually see the hammer there now. That's close enough, I don't care. Right. So now I'm going to need one that is 30 centimeters long, and I'll work out the rest in a minute. So how wide are these? It's 6.5 centimeters diameter. Now, if I have something that I can do this with straight away, it'd be really useful. Also very unlikely. But we'll have a look. So I think I have a 64mm hole saw. But I'm also going to have a look. Yeah, I'm also going to have a look, see if I can find a 64mm pipe, because heck, would that be useful, don't you? That's 40. Oh yeah. It's another 40. I don't think I have a 60 yet. Wow. I wonder where this came from. Okay. Now, get this out, yeah. Ooh, it's actually a good end on it too. Right. So I'm going to use a slightly modified version of what you do to make rivets, but with this. I don't know what this was bought for. I've never had use for 64mm, but I'm glad they have it out now. And yes, I could just use this pipe as an outer sheath, but okay, so it ends up that, and it's it's close enough to the right size that I don't care. So, because this stuff doesn't really matter, because it's going to be hidden inside, I'm going to be putting that. This stuff is the last of the material I used to use. It's got the stuff on one side and flat on the other, and it has the jigsaw teeth and everything else. Now this, well, it's old, okay. So basically what you do is use this pipe as a cutting edge and you rotate it into the foam pad and that cuts the foam pad. Am I still in shot? Yep. Yeah. And as you can see, it cuts. Because EVA foam isn't the strongest thing in the world. I'm selecting this material because I don't really use it anymore because I get the generic stuff which doesn't have any branding on it and doesn't have this material on the back, which is much nicer because you can't really cut it the wrong way, but it's also slightly more expensive. So I'm going to need 4 of these, but that is an almost perfect circle, and if you tried cutting that by hand, you would be here all day failing to cut. Okay, if I tried to cut it, I'd be here all day failing to cut. Oh, no, don't walk. Now, if you don't have one of these, I mean, why don't you have a 64mm pipe in your house? Why would you not? I mean, obviously everyone has one, right? I mean, who wouldn't? Yeah, if you don't have a spare pipe, just that. Just stick one on, draw around it, cut it. That's how I used to do it, but this just makes far nicer circles. And I now have a large variety of pipes just for this particular purpose. And this is the most energetic thing I've done all day. In fact, in several months. Come on. Okay. It's number 3. Well, this one, oof, that's getting hot. Like most cutting objects, when you're cutting, they get hot. This is no exception, so there's a lot of resistance to this. It could be because I'm using about a 5-foot pipe. Oh, it's 68mm. I mean, I'll accept that. It's going to have 5mm side added on anyway, so. Okay, so that one's done. Now let's go chuck this back in its pot, so we know where it is. By the way, take your shoulder. Okay, you can hold it for now. So now we've done that, we may as well, while we're doing it, cut the others. So let's get the little width limiter. Now this one's a reduction. I think this is going to be closer to 30mm. Sorry, 40 in this case. The thinnest point, it goes down to 30. So I think if I go get a 40mm pipe, which I was shouting at over here earlier. Now it's a 40mm drain pipe. As you can see on it, close enough. It's like 40, 41, something like that. Doesn't really make that much difference. And plus, being slightly big is better because I've got to drill each one of these through the center with the 21 mil afterwards for each of these. Now, how long is this section? Yeah, I think 4 on this as well will have to do. Now, fortunately, it doesn't matter if these ones look a little bad, which is great, because they're going to look awful. These are much nicer circles than you get cut by hand, but I mean, I don't have to clean them up before they go outside, so just drill this one through. And yes, there's the action for making a fire. Free. Yeah, if you don't start it properly, it just walks off over the sheet and wrecks it. When you wreck the sheet, you lose that entire section because you can't use it for external. Okay, it's almost through. We're starting to hit the plastic underneath. One more. Let's drill. Hey, I was feeling bad at being out of breath, but my muscles are actually hitting now. Ow! My head. Okay, that was good fun. And free. Hopefully that's all we need for a while. Okay, now I have to mark up center points. As with everything crafting wise, you have to spend quite some time just getting the thing right. Okay, it's close enough. This one just fell apart, so I mean, I don't mind doing little corrections like this, but if you've ever done this entire thing solid for like ages, you'd know. I mean, that one didn't even go in straight. It's actually at an angle all the way through. Heck, it's getting warm in here. I mean, I only have like a heater and a streaming rig and like a heat wave. Oh well. And a lot of physical exercise cutting through these. Okay, so that's enough of that. Continue marking the centers, what you were doing before you stopped. Come on. That'll do, I guess. Also, if you're out of alignment on those, it will show up on the end product. Which is why I do so many center lines. If one of them isn't exactly in the center, you will know about it. I mean, that one's too low. And you can just tell just by looking. That one's too low. So if you do 4 lines, it sort of auto-corrects. Because if you do one out, as long as you don't get them, but you know, if you get them all out by exactly the same amount, you'll be fine. Because it'll just draw a box around the circle by how far you're out by. Need that brush again. Well, floor brush. Oh, just got hit by a massive axe. It's fine. Okay, let's go put the weaponry back on the wall. We've got this little spare piece of pipe, which is rough as heck, but that doesn't really matter. It's close enough. And the advantage of cutting it with that pipe, apart from the fact that that is not centered. I mean, I missed the center, but yeah. You know, I said any mistake at this stage will show up. That's one of them. Luckily, I made the mistake again, so it just means that the center's going to be slightly off. That's fine. As long as it's consistently off, I don't really care. Okay, and free. Now the problem is when they come to do the smaller ones, because they're really close to the actual size. I mean, we're talking that much extra thickness. I mean, you can't even see that in the picture, it's so small. I mean, there. Oh, that walked. Like, in fact, with the extra like depth this is getting, I think just like a 5mm ring would have done it. Like, just a ring of waste 5mm would have done this just fine. Oh well. Too late now. Oh, my wrist's gonna hate me tomorrow for this. Okay, yeah, where's that little bit of waste 5mm that I had earlier? There it is. Yeah, literally 5mm gap. Okay, we're just gonna chuck them because yeah, my joints are weak and I don't want to wreck them. Ah. Oh well. Disability comes to us all eventually. Just comes for some of us earlier. So if we run this up to that height, like that, now we just need a smaller ring to run around inside, which that'll do actually. So we can pull that back down. And hopefully so we do that. Oh, don't do that. Okay, cut that little bit. Tiny bit more. Just a little bit of glue there. It'll start to pull apart while I'm trying to get the tape out. Don't worry about that. And we stick that collar on. It's even about the right thickness. I mean, I didn't plan this. Okay, and we now have a collar on in the correct position. So we just run that one up to it. Run in a bead of glue where we need it. And take the hammerhead off at this point because we don't need it. Just run that around. Now we get the next 4. 2, 3, 4. And you're the bottom. There and there. Okay, so you're the fin bit, so you go there. And you're the fin bit, so you go there. And you're the fin bit, so you go there. So we've now got this type of ring arrangement. And now I just need to glue that in position like such. Do a little ring of glue again. And another one. Pull that forward a little bit so it's just on the ring. I'm doing this if you're going to be pushing a liquid forwards. Make sure that it's on the bit that people can't see. Like that. And now we have an exterior setup for that. Now I need to find some waste 5mm that's, you know, is longer than that. This bit will do. So all I need is a surface to adhere it to, and hopefully we'll see enough. So going down, this is our next section. So we're going to need 4 rings on here to stick the, because this is going to be like covered in the end. So that's going to be one solid layer of foam around there and one solid layer around here. Just unbend a little bit. Right. So just run a little bead of glue around here. It doesn't matter if it does this full circle properly, and whether or not it looks good, because this is all going to be hidden anyway. get another round going. So I think this is the last one. And we're off camera because it's too far back. Whoops. Okay. And learning where to cut that is just a matter of experience. So if you're starting off and you don't know exactly where to cut, always cut a little longer, then you can always cut back. But you know, I believe the old rule is it's easier to remove material than it is to add. That is something I stick with because I have experienced it both ways. But yeah, literally where they meet, that'll be a little bit too long. A little bit onto the bottom, done. To the top, it's a bit too long. To the bottom, it's usually a little bit too short. And why the masking tape? Because masking tape comes off easily. The worst that happens is this section up here ends up with a ribbed structure because there's some that will expand and some that won't. But I don't really care. Unless it's pointed out to you, you will never notice any of this stuff. Just looking at someone's props, you can very rarely just go, oh look, that person made this mistake. Ha 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 ha. Also, if you had to laugh at them, you're a jerk. Everybody makes mistakes. Burn one. This glue gun doesn't get that hot. If you make really quick contact and like get away from it, it doesn't burn. Or if you stick your hand straight into it and squeeze, not realizing it's there, expect pain. Lots and lots of pain. So, we now have this, which admittedly looks silly, but we get the hammer, stick it on. So that meets up. This is eventually going to be solid, but at this point I have to make the decision of how to proceed with the rest of this plan. Because what I need to do is we don't need this section and this section anymore. So we're going to cut off the base plate, which is this. Which, yeah. Then we're going to rewrite bottom and top because I am not a sadist. Sorry, masochist. One that just paint yourself. Oh, really? It's that way? Okay. So it's that way round, but this is the area which I have to work in. So, here's my little chalk. So at this point, and we need that curved bit there, which actually ends up like that. And this hammer section towards the front sort of ends up like that, joining it. So I think that's, yeah, that curved section there. So this is where I'm going to try to hide the battery pack, which is good. So you've got this section here, which is where I'm going to try to hide the battery pack. I think I'm just going to poke 2 holes through there that you can drop it into and hopefully put a magnet there. But it means I can hide that on the side. And the bigger point is, how long is this and is it good enough for what I want? Because I mean, it'll fit, that's fine. I mean, I'm going to have it loose somehow, but we'll work that out. But the point is, this bit goes around the outside. So it's going to start off by here and like just spiral upwards. And I think I got one that's much too long for what I need, so it's going to be like that type of spiral. Like that. Then once this goes inside, I'll do a ring around there, shoot through to the other side, do a ring around there. Then we just sort of stick that down and we'll be okay. So yeah, it's definitely long enough. And you know, if I wanted it shorter, I could have it shorter. Truth is, I don't. If I paid for it, I may as well use it all, right? Just reel it. In both cases here, I've bought far too many lights for the inside of this for what I'm doing. Because I think I've got about 6 foot of, so it's 2 meters of RGB strip and about 6 foot of lights. And the blue lights are literally going to be a little bit around here, and some facing out the front and some facing towards the back for a glow, and the same on the other side. It's my height of string. They also don't really do anything shorter. I don't know why. Okay, and those are stuck, so we're okay with that. So now I'm going to need some more 20mm thick spacers. No, not going to use that, we'll use this. Actually, no, maybe at 25mm, just because that's what I've used for the rest of it. Just cut this bit off straight. Chalk. You know, if I had to put that back where it came from, it would make my life so much easier. But I don't. Ever. So, I mean, the bag's over here, I'll be fine. Oh. Okay, I had a piece. So it doesn't matter that much. So 25mm and 25mm. Okay, and then 25mm. And another one of 25mm. That'll work. Right. So now we need a bit on the front. Okay, we can take that off because we don't need the staff right now. So for the front of the hammerhead, we're going to need this. stick that across there. Now whether or not I use hot glue or a thing, wow, thing. Yeah, whether it's hot glue or thing is entirely determined on how afraid I am of it coming loose. Okay, so this along the back section will be fine. Just make sure we limit it to how far it can go. So we start off there, come up to this level. Again, anything inside the prop does not matter. Because if nobody's going to see it, you don't need to worry. I mean, they're not going to like get a knife, cut open your prop for judging. Nobody ever will. If they do, they are a jerk. Let's make that one clear. Seal that a little bit off. There you go. So now we're creating, well, we don't really need it to be a box section, but I mean, that's the space we had on the back. Then I'm going to come up because this section, I think, yeah, up to here is accessible. So basically, I'm just going to do a little bit across there once I know exactly, like there, exactly when I know how it's going to look. We just run that across till the end, it's too short. Like that. I think I'm going to stop after the hour. Yeah. So, just under an hour I'm going to stop because I've been going long enough. So if we just run this bit across here. Okay, like that. There you go. Yeah, that one's a little bit too high, but we'll be okay. Of course, very careful doing that. Okay, so it ends up like that. So you can see the little bit of hammerhead up there. We're going to have like boxes on the sides as well to add more details. So. Too small. That's a useful little bit there. Okay, so that bit's after there is waste anyway, so. Okay, that's close enough. else have we got? So I've got this little bit here, which I have royally messed up because I came in from the wrong side. So we cut across like that. Now we need a little bit going at angles, so like that. And then we grab more glue because I've run out. Reload. Yeah, the heat on that gun's getting a bit out of hand now. It's getting too hot. Oh, no, back in position, please. Okay, and the last bit. Just take this little bit off the end. If you've never worked VVA foam before, it absolutely slaughters blades. It is it's like, as far as the cutting goes, it is one of the, well, nastiest things to work with out there. It's not that awful. I'm sorry, I'm making it sound bad. So when you're cutting with it, it'll just dull your blade after like 5 minutes. The fact that I've managed to go this long and that blade is going dull, that's why I switched to the back for a good cut. Okay, is that thick enough? No. I mean, this is just different density. Oh, yeah, in you get. So now that bit of foam's disappointing, it's jumped off the table because I don't want it anymore. That's why you don't change densities, because it upsets the previous piece. So you stick that bit on there, bring it back and stick this bit here. Curve it around the edge, so you've got a nice little bit there done. Just about fits, and I can go in there with a Dremel afterwards and correct it if it's it's not going to be perfect, but any imperfections I can go in afterwards and correct with a Dremel. Instead of the traditional method of having to use a sand. It's not a sander, is it? Oh wow, I wonder drop frames. Ugh. Well, nothing seems to be being stressed, so okay. So, there you go for the basic shape. So we've got that together. So we end up with that on top. Like that. Yeah, I mean, that'll do, right? And those really like blow up. Yes, they are. There you go. It's also why test fits are important, even in cosplay. And there you go. The back, of course, is far more complex than this, so. The full plan is to drill a hole through the 3 layers once they're all stuck together, and then make it pivot somehow. If you're not enjoying the word somehow being used quite so much, why kidding, everyone loves somehow. Okay, so that's a little bit higher, but that'll do. Even with the extra layer though, that's quite a gap left. Because that's only 15, meaning there's 10 to there's 5 to either side. So we're going to have to layer up something inside there, which is 5 mil thick and relatively strong. I wonder what I'm going to do. So if I do this, just trace around. Now, unfortunately, this particular thing, okay, let's get it back in shot without smashing up the room. I'm going to have to actually contact adhesive on, so I'm going to leave that until last. Okay, it's a real mess back there. But I'm deciding to layer it with this because when we put in the when we put in the pivoting mechanism, do I actually need to glue it? Wow, that's way out. Well, when I put the pivoting mechanism in, it needs something to resist this, which is what this is. Yeah, I know what I said as well. So I should have contacted adhesive that. But I didn't. Okay, and hopefully when we stick that one up on top, when it's the right way up. That'll butt up and we'll be fine. Just pop it together. Let's do a test. There you go. That'll work. I mean, wow, that'll actually work. Fortunately, the back plate also covers over this. So, there you go. One partially made, very poorly made hammerhead. Now what's going to happen there, I'm going to put a bit of pipe through and stick a pipe through that as a pivot point. Then glue it all together because that's going to be covered over anyway, hopefully. And I'll give it something to spin by. But I'm going to wait for it to be all together first, which involves waiting until tomorrow because I can't hot glue on top of that. Yeah, don't stick yet. Okay, so we've got that. Fortunately for the front, we don't actually need to worry much, so it's 45, no, that's 45, that's 65, that's 100. So I think if we go for 65, we should be okay. Now this is where it starts getting into guesswork territory and things start going wrong. You know, because I've had a plan up until this point. But we know that the length of this, which is 60 the length of this is 34 centimeters. So we know we need a rectangle 34 centimeters long. We make that. Then we do this. So we start off at 0. And that wasn't right. Anyone with any math skills can actually work this out much quicker, assuming that I'd had a correct starting point. So that's 20 centimeters. So if I cut it to 21 centimeters by 34, I think it was. Yeah, 21 by 35. In fact, make it 22 by 35. Yeah. Oh my, wow, okay, it's been over an hour since I drank. Don't forget to drink. Always important, as I've said earlier. Then forgotten. Let's put them off there, get all that stuff to a safe place, because this is a very long machine. Actually looks like a fresh sheet too. Yeah. Just squidge around it, it'll be fine. Okay, so 21. 21, 21, 35, 35, and I know that's going to create a lot of waste, but just in case, you know. Roll back up for now. Stay there. Let's get the staff back. Well, that definitely seems to be wrong. So we stick that one there. This one over here. And we roll up like that. They do meet, which is exactly what we needed. So protect both of them off. Now we get this and roll it. My apologies about the sound of rubber, but okay, that's now in a basic round shape. So put that there, pop around the top, so it's on. And do a bead of glue. Try to keep it level as it goes round. Like that. Then get that little bit of excess. It's just part of the thing with hot glue. It is the most easy substance to work with. Well, okay, it's not the easiest. It just has the lowest barrier to entry. But there's an upper skill curve that is horrible. I mean, it's probably the first material 90% of people use for crafting, and also really quite difficult. So we've got that one. Let's draw another bead. Now I'm not running the beats around the full 360 because why would I want to? Now this last one, I'm actually going to run it around the full circle just to make sure that it's sealed. The other ones just needed it to tag. Come on, stick on. Now there's a little bit of overshoot on the bottom there that you might be able to see, like around there. I'm just going to come back at the end and cut that off. Same as once all this is stuck, I'm going to run up there. But do I really want to start the next one now? Well, I might as well cut it, right? So that's 25. It's 25 long by 11. Let's get this over here again. That untangled from me. So that's 25. By 11. That. I think I actually measured it to 10, so 11 should be a little bit stretch over again, but we'll be fine. As you can see, that's a little bit of a lumpy shape, not perfect cylindrical, but again, I don't care. And that one is not long enough. Turns out that should have been a 12. Yeah. Is it the right length? That's the important question. Yes. So if I put 13, it'll be fine, right? Immediately cuts it to 3. 13 and 13. Then just follow that line. There you go. I gave an extra 2 centimeters. That should be enough. Let's spin this thing up. So yeah, we're literally talking that much difference. There's barely anything, but one now fits. You stuck? Because I've got to come through and do this. Wow, okay, don't do that. Just remember, when I'm cutting through this stuff, it is rubber floor mats. So if we start off on this side, let's just run around. How much extra do you... Wow, okay, that was close. Whoops. Well, I'm glad I added so much. Because that's how much there was. That was close. Okay. Start you off on this side because that's where we want you, and go around. It's tearing apart like that's fine. Just a little more. One more. That's already dry. Whoops. Okay, and a bead all around on this one. Now the bottom of this thing is a lot more complex, so the bit that goes here, which is a little handle section, is going to take a lot longer to do, but okay, and that's it so far. Maybe want to check the head on it. I mean, it's going. Should I make that a little thicker? I mean, I can, but it just looks a bit too thin in its current iteration. Then you stick something silly on the back. All good. We're coming along well. Now the problem with the front is that I can't actually do the hammerhead until it's all built. So, means I have to stop and think, eh? Is that too big to go through there effectively? Oh. Okay, yeah, that'll work. But we are done with the hot glue for today. So I'm pretty much finished. About 10 minutes or so left, so I'm gonna just think about this. If you have any questions about the design, go feel free. It's not like there's anyone here, so don't have to worry. Yeah, once we get that, we've got the top layer on top, which is that thickness, then the hammerhead on top of that. So, whoop. And we end up with a spacing like that over the top, which you can barely see because camera and lighting. But they're basically touching. So I'm just going to run a bit of pipe through it and then have this bit rotate around the pipe. I think, yeah, have this bit rotate around the fixed pipe. And then I can just put a hole straight through here and then all those bits go on top. Then yeah, we have plenty of that. I think in the end I'm probably going to hide some of the light strip down on this or something, because I can't think of anything else to do with it. It's just the sheer amount of LEDs on this. Ah. Oh well. So, I'm gonna stop there, because yeah, okay, I'm sort of now waiting for stuff to dry, and I can't carry on until stuff's dried. I won't stick this bit on stream, I'll do that between the shows. So when I come back next time, I should be able to do the majority of the finishing. Okay, so thanks for coming, and oh, bye.